Okay guys, this is going to be the first video on leather. I figured I would start with Leather 101, and that would be, what is leather? Basically, it's a preserved animal hide, whether it's a cow or a sheep or a pig or a snake or a shark. It doesn't matter. If it has a skin, more than likely it can be tanned. So it turned into leather, and that's what it is. Tanning process turns regular hide into leather, and tanning process has been going on, I think they said, since 7000 BC, probably since there were humans wearing skins. They've been tanned of some sort, because tanning preserves the hide and doesn't allow bacteria to grow and doesn't allow it to rot. And there are a lot of ways to do it. The ways they did it in the medieval times, I'm glad they don't do it that way now. Some of those, I've read up on it, and it's very disgusting. But basically what I use is vegetable tan leather. And vegetable tan leather is made from using the tannin, which is an oil in plant matter, and that's where the name comes from for tanning, is from the tannins that are used to make leather. And they use other processes. There's a lot of chrome tan leather out. A lot of your commercial leather is chrome tan. They use chrome salts. They also use aluminum salts, and that helps kill the bacteria, preserve it, make it last longer. They use, unfortunately, get a little gross, they use brain matter. There's tannins in like animal brains, and if you impregnate the skin with animal brain matter, you can turn it into leather. There are things like formaldehyde and other chemical forms of hide, but they're so toxic and so dangerous to humans that pretty much it's not used very often anymore. There's also, because roses are tanned, there's also called rose tanned leather. It's very expensive, but it smells like roses for a little while. And I read up, a friend of mine on YouTube puts birch oil in his leather. Well, I found out that that's actually called Russian tanned leather, and it's been something that was very expensive and very sought after for quite some time. So there are different forms of leather, but what I use is vegetable tan leather, and you take that leather and you can dye it and carve it and stamp it very well, and that's what I use. And most of the people that do sheaths and things like that on the internet, that's what they're using, is vegetable tan leather. Okay, now that we know how it's made, now we can talk about what you use and what is it. Well, it comes in different grades. Different grades being, if it was a cow out on the range, it's going to have the cow brand. It's going to have little ticks and scrapes from barbed wire and things like that, and those grade the leather on how good it is and how much usable leather you will have to work with and things like that. It's also graded by thickness. This is a thickness gauge. Basically, 1 ounce in leather is done by an ounce rating. 1 ounce of leather is 0.4 inches thick, right? 0.4 millimeters thick. 0.4 millimeters thick. So your 4 ounce leather is going to be 1.6 millimeters thick. Your 8 ounce leather will be, 3.2 millimeters thick. And that's the rating that the leather is gone by, is how thick it is. This leather here that I use for my holsters, looking on it, it's 7 ounces in that spot. So it's 2.8 millimeters thick. So you could call that 3, or 8 ounce leather, you could call that 3. It's 3.2. They round it off. There are different parts of the cow that hide are used. You can buy pieces. You can buy a side, which a lot of your belts are made out of sides because they have that long strip that they can cut out of it and make it into a belt. They use shoulders. They use single shoulders. They use double shoulders. It's all about how much square footage is in each piece of leather. Your side is going to be almost 20, 21, 24 square feet in a side. Your single shoulder may only be 7 or 8. Double shoulder may be 12 to 14. Those are the pieces that I use most often. It's either going to be a side or a shoulder. They also have bellies. Bellies are very unpredictable. They're very uneven, but they're great for little projects. They're also great for practicing because they're not expensive. The sides and the shoulders generally are going to be a minimum of probably $6 to $7 a square foot for good leather, and you want good leather when you're making things. I know it's expensive, but it's better leather. It's better quality. It's also easier to work with sometimes because on a piece like this, it's got some fuzzy parts on the back, and you don't want that on a piece that's going to be showing. You want it to be smooth, and something like this doesn't have a lot of, it looks a lot like the front. So you want something that's going to be good leather when you're working with it. It's easier to work with, it's cheaper to work with, you don't have a lot of extra work that has to be done. I have to do something to this to make it sellable. So you try and get the best leather that you can. Sometimes you can't. And sometimes there may just be only a small section in the hide that's like this. You can either do something with it or change your project and do something else with it. Most of my leather comes from Tandy. I know a lot of people are going to groan, and any professionals out there are going to say all kinds of bad things about it, but I don't think that there's a leather worker around that doesn't have at least one Tandy tool in their toolbox. But the professionals all gripe and complain and moan and say how terrible Tandy is. They do perform a good service, and if you're going to start leatherworking, that's where you're going to get your stuff. Because I went online last night and looked at one of the best leather tanneries in the United States, and they want a minimum of 10 hides at a specific size of leather to talk to you. So it was $7+ a square foot. You're looking at 20 square feet of side and 10 of those. So you're looking at a lot of money. I can go to Tandy and pick up a single side or a single shoulder for under $100. And I can look at it, I can feel it, I can pick it up, I can rummage through the pile of leather that they have there and pick what works best for me. And it works, you know. Some people may not like it. It works for me. And that's what this whole video series is about. It's about what I do and what works best for me. So that's where I'm at right now with that. So I'll see you with another video shortly.